Hello, everyone, and welcome back to On the Curbs IndyCar edition. I'm your host, Nate Woods. I'm joined once again by my co-host, Thiemo Albers-Daly. Thiemo, how are we doing?
Pretty good, thanks, Nate. Excellent weekend of racing action across the board, pretty much. I mean, the only question mark for me was the interesting NASCAR races in Mexico City. I'm not sure that's the track that's best suited to them, but I thought they were trying something different. But luckily, we had an excellent IndyCar race. How are you?
I am doing well, and I think we finally got treated to a proper IndyCar race this season. It's only
Yeah,
taken
I
us
mean,
8 rounds to get one that was exciting start to finish.
yeah, it started as it meant to go on. It really did, and the Indy NXT race kind of foreshadowed it a little bit for me in terms of they were battling from the very start, the first few laps, and two abreast for like the first four rows, and they just kept giving and kept giving and kept giving. And then the IndyCar guys saw that and went, "Yeah, let's have some of that, but let's do it for 260 laps instead of 70." And everyone else was like, "Yeah, sign us the heck up for that."
Yeah, the we ran the extremely long named Bommarito Automotive Group 500 from Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis this weekend. And
Also known
like
as
I
the
said,
Emilia Romagna Imola Grand Prix.
yes, it was definitely a great race. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We were talking before the show. This race had everything that I think we were missing from other races this season, all rolled into one.
I think if the Indy 500 was our tease of we've been saving all of our cautions for something, then that turns out was the appetizer, and this was. I don't want to say the main course because it means that we're potentially over it already and we're going to go back to normal, but maybe the first part of the main course and we're going, oh, this tastes good. I like this. Let's have a bit more of that. I'm ready to tuck in now.
So, you know, the, just to jump into the race, I mean, the start of the race, I mean, the first 4 laps of the race, I feel like set the tone for what we were going to see. It was kind of like you're watching it like, man, this is really great, and I'm like, I really hope they can keep this up. And sure enough, they did. Of course, we had an early caution flag. Di Francesco just kind of loses it coming out of turn one or going into turn one on lap four. But I mean, those first 3 or 4 laps alone were worth the price of admission, I think.
Definitely. I mean, we've been talking, you in particular, about Dave Malukas. At some point this season, he's going to come into it. He's going to come into it, and he
Yep.
came into it and went
Right.
straight for it and third to first on lap one, and everyone goes, "Whoa,
Yeah.
hold on a second there, buddy boy, what's going on here?" But we absolutely love it. And then they say you wonder how long to keep this up. Though, and in a way, they did keep it up for the entire race. It's just we had a few breather moments, and unfortunately, Di Francesco gave us the first one of those a bit sooner than we would have liked. I think if ever there was a time to not have a caution flag, this race might have been it because we didn't need one to make it exciting. And Di Francesco's curious incident, because it wasn't that dramatic, definitely not as dramatic as some of the incidents we saw later, but it very much felt like he's just gone to someone before the race. Watch this. Watch how good I'm about to do. And then 4 laps in, done. You go,
Well,
yeah, that didn't go to
and
plan.
I mean, he got back out on track. I mean, in all fairness to Devlin, I mean, the team did get that car back out on track, and he was able to continue running. Was he 30?
I mean,
No, it was
only
40,
33
40,
laps down
40,
at one
43
point.
laps down at the end of the
43.
race. Yeah. He was running, though. He was still running at the end of the race. So now he did get a nice close up during the broadcast as well.
I
I don't know
missed
if you
that
saw.
bit. You're going to have to fill me in.
When they got his car repaired, and he was running back to pit lane to get back in the car, and they had some Fox cameraman chasing him down, and Devlin came to an abrupt stop, and the cameraman just plowed right into him on live television and fell to the ground, and you could tell the guy was in pain. I mean, it was pretty comical.
Beauty of live television.
Luckily, they were both okay, and Devlin was able to get back on track. I haven't heard any interviews from Devlin to get his take on it, but just one of those things you catch. Just every once in a while, you find something funny and amusing, and that was it for me.
I've got to find a way of making a clickbaity title for that now, and that Di Francesco rear-ended track during last IndyCar race.
Yeah.
What the hell happened? We missed that.
So another driver that had a great start was Connor Daly. I mean, he had a great race start to finish, but he jumped 8 spots in those first 3 laps. I mean, he was just on a charge in that first
When
part
we
of that
say he
race.
has he has good performances in oval races, and boy does he. I mean, if you weren't doubting about it before, you're not now, are you? And you're very much looking at the rest of the ovals on the calendar, going again. Yes, please, more of that.
Yeah. Another driver that ended up having trouble early was Will Power, unfortunately.
I mean, Power, Penske, the whole lot of them.
Yeah.
Jesus
I
Christ, what
mean,
did we? I mean, we can talk about them more later, but that
starting on
team.
the pole and just losing it in turn 4, and um, unfortunately was not able to get that car repaired. But
No, and I didn't realize it was his first pole in like 2 years. July 23 was the last time he'd got
yes,
pole
yeah,
position. Um, I mean, it was one of those ones where it made sense, but also it made me go, wait, how? Like, surely there must have been one more recently. It doesn't seem
yeah,
right, but
right.
it just kind of tells you the story of how his career's been going lately and how the team's overall standing has been going in recent times, where it's on the one hand, you've got a brilliant stat later that we can get to, but that's on one hand, but then this is on the other. And you go, how have you
Yeah.
managed to achieve both of these at the same time?
Well, and they were, they're spotlighting him before the race and in that first, 40 laps before he crashed. And, they're like, this is a driver that needs to have good results because
That's usually when bad things happen, isn't it?
he's out of contract at the end of the season. And, David Malukas' name was brought up as the heir apparent for that seat at Penske. And, then this happens. You sit on the pole and then you end up finishing last. So,
Yeah,
uh,
and meanwhile, you've got Robert Schwartzman, sitting in a bar somewhere, and Will Power walking in, and he just turns, look, goes, first time.
yeah. But the caution came out at like the right time. I mean, this was right at the opening of the pit window, and things got hot on pit road
They very
in more
much
ways
did,
than
and
one.
yeah, I mean, like you say, it was perfect time because everyone can dive and take full advantage. But then, as the viewers, we get to take full advantage of that because when everyone comes in at the same time, especially under safety car conditions, as we then saw, chaos does tend to happen, and chaos it did.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Christian Rasmussen had trouble fueling in his pit stop, and car caught on fire as he was leaving the pit box, and then just in front of him, you have Christian Lundgaard, who uh, missed his pit box entirely and just kind of stopped in the middle of the track, which was strange. And then he decided he wanted to reverse to get into his pit box, and that's
Which obviously you're not allowed to do.
not allowed to do. That resulted in a nice penalty for him. And then you have Malukas and McLaughlin who were battling for being that first car off pit lane, and it was hot. It was good, and not the first time that those two, or it was the first time that they were battling each other off pit road, but ended up not being the most exciting time that they were battling getting off pit road. And we had
So,
more action
new,
between those
new,
two later in the race.
new venue for them to try and take each other's frustrations out on one another. I did
That's
find it
right.
amusing with Rasmussen that it was one of those things where his car's literally caught on fire, as you say, and nothing's really done about it. It's just the equivalent of, oh, he can just walk that off. And sure
Yeah.
enough does, and it takes care of itself. And you go, I love that that is the solution, but also it just goes against everything that I want to do in reaction to it because his car's on fire.
Yeah, and I think it was just extra fuel that spilled onto the exhaust and ignited, and those go up pretty quick. So no, obviously no damage to the car. He was able to continue, and continue he did. So uh, I love just looking through the race recaps, and looks like well, we had the accident on lap 131. Obviously, the scariest accident of the race. Scariest accident we've had in a few races for sure. Louis Foster, kind of an innocuous incident where he got high and brushed the wall, and and then coming out of turn four, kind of came down in front of the leaders, and unfortunately collected Joseph Newgarden, who was leading the race at the time.
Yeah, I mean, talk about wrong place, wrong time for Jez Newgarden. And all weekend up to that point, there'd been talk of how strong he goes here, how it's kind of,
Mhm.
if there's going to be one race this year that he's going to win, it's going to be
Yep, it's
this
going
one.
to be
If
this
this is
one.
where he turns his season around, it's going to be this one. And then literally nowhere for him to go. Even if he'd been able to turn at the last second, I still think he would have either driven into someone else or flipped still
Mhm.
because of the severity with which he would have needed to turn to avoid it.
Yeah.
And the car, to Foster's car's credit, solid piece of machinery because you would have thought that Newgarden would have just ploughed right through it, and instead
Yeah.
it just didn't bounce as such, but it just went, well, you ain't coming through here, so you're going to have to go up, and
You
then
have to
just
go over.
yeeted.
Yep.
And spectacular photographs coming off the back of it, and the sparks, and you probably saw the in-car camera that
Yes.
did glitch out briefly for some mysterious reason. Can't imagine why. And again, just highlights the vast improvements in safety that they have. I mean, I showed you between the last race and this one. I think there was a documentary on Autosport, their YouTube channel, about Robert
Yep.
Wickens, and how much safety has improved since then. Because if that was the car that he'd been driving,
Mhm.
that could have gone very differently, I think, and we
Yeah.
wouldn't be not treating it as such a blasé incident, but we'd be more concerned, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly could have been worse for Newgarden. That's a short attenuator wall between the straightaway and pit road, and it could have very easily gone over that and
Oh yeah,
into pit
and then who
lane.
knows what
And
kind of a
yeah,
disaster you're waiting at
yeah,
that point, and you're in for a real horrid time of it then.
yeah. There's a lot of talk online and actually during the race about IndyCar's timing and scoring with throwing the caution flag and how long it took them to throw the caution flag. I'm on the fence about this.
Mm.
They would say, "Oh, it took them 6 seconds to throw the caution flag," and we saw several incidences on this in this race, including a later one um, where cars would brush the wall and continue, and you don't know. I mean, this could have just been one of those incidences where Foster brushed the wall and was able to continue. Ultimately, he did come down across the track. Um, I have a long-standing beef with IndyCar when it comes to the length of time it takes to throw caution flags. I think we've talked about it on this show in the past. Uh, um, but that one, I keep going back and forth on whether or not a caution flag, throwing the caution flag as soon as Foster hit the wall would have done any good in that
Well,
circumstance.
that's the thing, right? I'm not sure if it would have been quick enough to prevent it from happening. He still, even if Newgarden had been able to get on the brakes sooner, there's no guarantee that he would have been able to still avoid,
Mhm.
because he came down so suddenly at the last moment, and it really wasn't kind of a gradual thing. It was just all very very quick about it, and a couple of seconds maybe he wouldn't have flipped, but still think he probably would have because
Mhm.
okay, he's maybe approaching with less speed, but he's still not going through the car. That's not how you definitely get through the car that you're crashing into is by going at it slower. You'd have to be quicker if anything, try and make that work. And I think at the end of the day, it's yeah, we saw that the safety equipment on the car and on the circuit is sufficient enough to prevent serious damage in an
Mhm.
instant like that. So it wouldn't have mattered too much if it was slower because it would have been still able to take care of that. It was going to be bad anyway. So I don't think it made too much difference. And I think still 6 seconds in the grand scheme of things, yeah, that can often be a long time in motorsport. But in this instance, to just see what's going to happen, like you say, we had other instances with Di Francesco, with Malukas, for example, where that could have gone the same way, but it didn't. And you've just got to feel things out a little bit. And luckily, in this instance, nothing too bad happened as a result. So I think maybe that's why we can allow it to be gotten away with. If Newgarden had been injured, perhaps, then we'd be having a different conversation. But I think with the outcome, it makes it easier to say that we're all right with it. But whether or not that makes it all right, that then still is
Yeah.
probably why you're a bit on the fence.
Yep. Yeah. Under this caution, we had even more pit action, and it was even spicier than the one before. You had Malukas, McLaughlin, and O'Ward racing each other off pit lane. Um, and it was just two of those three drivers end up getting penalized for the way they exited. Um, I like the penalties that they received. McLaughlin and Malukas receiving three grid place penalties before the restart. I like that penalty. If you're going to give out a penalty, a drive-through penalty on a track like Worldwide Technology Raceway is uh, almost a death sentence, and
Yeah,
um, and I say almost because one of our finishers, our top finishers, overcame a penalty, and but I was pleased with that penalty. That they took the action before the green flag and were able to shuffle those guys back, and I think it was fair.
and I think as well it promotes better racing because there's still an ability to that you're punished, but you still got to get past how many cars that you're now behind, you know. And there's no guarantee that's going to happen. It encourages you to think smarter, to not make the same mistake. And we've seen IndyCar, you can't guarantee anything. So yeah, okay, maybe you've only got three more cars to pass, but imagine you lose off on a podium spot because of one car being in the way because you messed up. That's still the consequence then from being a silly boy in the pit lane.
Yeah. Yeah, so we go back to green and awards leading, but not for long. Connor Daly, I mean, just that fantastic day that he was continuing to have, raced his way to the front and led a good chunk of the second half of the race. It was, I mean, at this point in the race, you saw that there were still six drivers that had realistic shots at winning, and then we get down to the end, and that's there's four other drivers that had realistic shots at winning the race. So that was just part of what made this race feel like a real race, I think. There's
Feel
so
like
much
anyone
uncertainty.
could have it.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't a pit strategy race. And, I've always harped on here that, I love good pit strategy race, but this was, and there was
It felt
strategy
like a
involved in this
sprint.
race, but man, it was just pure on track action, and we've been missing that, I think, lately in
It,
IndyCar.
it felt in some ways as if it was the last race of the season because they were all going at it hammer and tongs. I'm going to be doing this in
Yeah.
less than a week again at a brand new circuit, and I think Daily we saw elements of him at the Indy 500. We were like, oh yeah, there we go, it's getting into it. And then we saw even more of this time. I'm like, right, next oval, is it going to be third time lucky? Is this the person then to not to be Carl Kirkwood or Alex Blow who wins a race
Yeah.
this year? And if he does, I don't think you'd find anyone who would be mad about it.
Yeah. And we get down towards the end, talking about caution flags. Dave Malukas, brushes the wall in turn four, and immediately, immediately the caution flag comes out.
Which
And
to me shows they learned when we're not
well,
taking any risks.
yeah, I mean they're watching Twitter feeds or something there in the timing scoring, and
Oh, that
yeah,
Nate's going on about it again.
Dave Lucas was running fifth, and when he brushed the wall, and was still running fifth after the caution. I mean, it was
That's how
very
you crash and continue.
exactly, yeah. I mean, kind of a non-crash, and I don't want to say it was a bogus caution flag, but they
You can understand him
certainly,
being overly
yeah,
cautious after the
yeah,
previous
yeah.
incident. You'd
They
rather,
were
oh no,
a
instant
little
alert.
trigger happy with the caution flag button, probably. But um, through pit cycles, though, interestingly enough, Scott Dixon was the leader and not just the leader, but the only car on the lead lap.
Scott Dixon doing Scott Dixon things, I reckon.
That's
There, but just
right.
if
Yeah.
anyone's going to, it's going to
Yeah,
be him.
definitely.
New, kind of
Caution
weirdly
flag
new
came
accolade
out at
unlocked.
just the right time for him because he was going to have to pit in a lap or two. I mean, he was the driver, the last one that was going to have to pit, and so he got a free pit stop, which doesn't happen very often, and was able to come back out, and he was still in the lead when we went back to green. But it certainly that restart, that last restart was. I mean, we were holding our breath watching that. I mean, you had four wide racing in multiple
So good.
locations on the track, and
So good.
surprising everybody made it through. And crazy that track in particular can produce racing like that. You're thinking it's a mile and a quarter track. It's a three-lane track, because of the high line. And
Well,
every
four
caution they
apparently.
yeah, four is next year we'll have to try for five, I guess. But four they can get through safely. And I mean that the last 50 laps of this race were amazing to
Just
watch.
ferocious,
Yeah.
ferocious action the entire way, and you kind of, again, anyone it felt like could win, and I'm glad for multitude reasons that Polo didn't do what Polo normally does this season and somehow get back through there. And I'm not saying I'm mad that Kirkwood was able to get through and win, but it almost felt a shame that he did as well at some point because it thought, well, you've got such a crazy race to the finish off for. It's already a crazy race at this point, and for it to still end up being one of the two drivers that we've had win this year,
Yep.
just go, oh come on, what do we
Well,
have to do here?
we got down to the end of the race, and you had several drivers. Everybody had to pit again, and
Mm,
you had some drivers that did better at saving fuel than others. You had Santino Ferrucci, Robert Schwartzman, and Marcus Ericsson in the top
I
three
mean,
with
that'd have been a heck of a
less
podium
than
by itself.
less than 20 laps to go, and uh, there was ideas that like, well, one of these drivers might chance it, and
A couple of them tried. It
yeah,
just didn't work.
yeah,
It
yeah. I mean, Callum Ilott got up there and takes the lead through strategy.
would have been
R-
such a prima thing for them to do as well, to chance it out of nowhere and then win a
yeah,
race and
and
just
win a
about have
race.
enough fuel to get there.
Well, and I even thought this when Callum took the lead. I'm sitting there, I'm watching the race and typing notes and trying to listen to IndyCar radio all at the same time, and I'm thinking. This has been such a great race. Do I really want an Callum Ilott to win? Nothing against the driver, but I'm like, man, we've been
Are you
treated to
sure?
such a wonderful race, and it's like, Callum Ilott's going to be the one to dethrone the big two,
It
and
would be so on brand for the season, though.
true, yeah, but it just wasn't going to be. Ended up having to Pitt, he ran out of fuel. I mean, they tried, but he came up five laps short. And of
I
course,
don't know,
that
just
uh,
that's got to hurt, hasn't it? If you're him there, you go, oh, just 5 laps. We could have just done. You're really looking back at the rest of the race and going, where could we have saved a bit more or pitted slightly later or something,
yeah,
And it shows that they are moving in the right direction, I think. And
yeah.
if you're going to be taking chances in the future, you're going to look at this and go, well, let's make damn sure we have enough left in the tank for at least another 5 laps because we don't want to get caught on that again.
Well, and with the pedigree of PREMA racing, you would think, oh, they're going to come in, they're going to perform well on the street and road courses, and they're going to struggle on the ovals, and
Yeah, the ovals is where they seem to be
we're kind
flourishing
of
the
seeing the
most.
reverse of that. Yeah. So ultimately, though, as you alluded to, we've had two winners this season, and that still continues with Kyle Kirkwood winning now back-to-back races.
Yeah. So that's again not something we had in our bingo card this year. I was chatting about this the other day, and nothing against Kirkwood, but I don't think any of us would have necessarily put him at the top of the list for people to be doing this year. It's nice to
Yeah,
see because it's surprising, but it's also just odd because it's surprising.
yeah, and Pato Award finishing second. He's just been there all season, just kind of lurking in the background, and doesn't have any wins yet, but still sitting second in the points.
Yeah, somehow managing that one, but yeah, there's going to be. I've got an interesting couple of thoughts on our order, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I think for me, third place is where it's at really, because a little bit like Connor
Yeah.
Daly, we were hopeful and expectant, but I think with Rasmussen, it took us all a bit by surprise. Not that he isn't capable, because clearly he is, but it's
Yeah.
just we've not seen this a lot from him this year, really, and for him to just come out and go, "I'll have that third place, please," and thank you ahead of someone like Scott Dixon, you go, fair play.
Well, he had so Christian Rasmussen finishing third. If he wouldn't have had the fire in the pits where they didn't get all the fuel in the car and he had to short pit and then have the penalty late in the race. I mean, he received
Well,
his penalty with lap 149. So we were already past halfway, and he got shuffled to the rear of the field, which at that point in time would have been what, 17th or 18th probably.
yeah,
Cars on
still
the lead
still a fair
lap.
few
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah. And so to work his way through the field, not once, not twice, but three times to finish third. I mean, he made 20, that's what, 77 on track passes. We're going into an era where Andretti Global has an F1 team, and Colton Herta has been the the name at the top of the list for going to F1. But with Kyle Kirkwood's performance, you almost have to start to wonder, is he going to be the Andretti driver that goes to
You,
F1?
you, you say that, but I go back to Hello with that and think everyone quite likes the idea of him going there to see what he could do, but you're quite comfortable where you are. Maybe if you're getting on a bit of a run indicator, you want to stay there, you want to see if you can get a championship or two, you're just getting into your groove, and that's why Herta is still the best option for it, because it's not going to be so well for him. Maybe everyone would be better suited to him, and you're trying to start afresh, so you kind of do a reverse Dennis Hauger, and you make the switch from F2 to Indy NXT, and you're reborn in a way. And you can't start performing in the way that we know you are capable of. Whereas Kirkwood, it's more of a risk for me because, okay, yeah, similar. There's F1 and single seater and all the rest of it, but you're getting into a nice groove now, which you maybe weren't expecting. We weren't expecting. Everyone else wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Capitalize on it while you can and see if you can get a championship out of it.
Yeah, with Alex Palou going to F1, as much as I would love to see that with him at Ganassi in a
Hmm.
non-contract negotiation year, I find it incredibly hard to believe that he'd be going to Andretti in F1. If he's
Oh
going to
yeah,
make it
no,
to
I don't
F1,
believe
it's
he's
going to
going
be
to
with
go
another
there,
team.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it would just be in terms of if there's someone that you can compare alongside Kirkwood in terms of why would you go when they're going so good where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you look at Colton Herta's performances this season. I mean, he's still sitting ninth in the points. It's like, when was his last win? And we haven't seen any real brilliance from him this year. It's like you're going to want to
It,
take a
it,
hot driver with you to F1. You're not going to want to take somebody that, I don't want to say Colton Herta has been, but we give him an awful hard time on this show. But
hang on, who's we in this? I keep getting it down about me.
I keep giving him a hard time on this show. Yes.
I
But
think maybe F1 could turn him around. Who knows?
I don't know. Let's see. What are we dealing with age wise here? I mean, you got to also look at that. I mean, I guess out of those three drivers, Colton Hurta is still the youngest. I mean, he's still only 25 years old. And when you're dealing with a series though, like F1, 25 is for a rookie is almost elder statesman at that
You
point.
say that Fernando Alonso's a rookie and he's in his 40s, so it's doable.
I wouldn't go so far to say that he's a rookie, but
You've
uh,
not been getting those memos.
he's the same age I am.
See, if he can do it, you can
I
do it. That's what
certainly
I
don't
get.
feel like a rookie. But yeah, I mean, it was like I said, fantastic race all around. I mean, it was thoroughly enjoyable. I don't want to say it's a ESPN classic by any means, but
Best race
definitely
of the year so far, though, I think.
yeah, best race of the season so far. Yeah. Team analysis. We always start off with Team Penske, but man,
I'd say some of these teams, there's not an awful lot to say about them. This is one of them, is it not?
God,
I mean, yes, technically you're not incorrect here where you say that they finished in 24th, 25th, and 27th, but it was essentially three DNFs for this team and
yeah,
called an absolute mess. You qualified first, second, and fifth. We thought, hey, back on it. 700th pole with Team Penske, as you say, and I had to do a double take when I heard that. I thought, how the
yeah,
hell is that true?
yep,
But somehow it was. And then this is what happens. And yeah, new garden, wrong place, wrong time. McLaughlin, unfortunate mechanical issue as well, and willpower again, the wall. And you just go, what the heck is happening over there? And answers on a postcard, please, everybody.
yeah. I mean, there really isn't much to say there. I mean, this is the worst finish of the season for the team after what should have been a
Well,
great
it was
finish. I
finished for
mean,
any of the teams for this year.
yeah, and just all three drivers starting in the top five,
Yeah,
and they all finish in the bottom five. Yeah,
I say about DeFrancesco at the start, going, "Hey, watch this!" On Team Penske, watch this.
right,
Oh, you
yeah,
really shouldn't have said that.
yeah, and just unfortunate for them. Definitely, I mean, not the fault of any one driver, but man, that just I mean, that's just the worst day you can have.
When
Absolute
when
worst
it
day.
rains, it pours.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe this is karma coming back to bite him.
Whatever for.
Yeah, right. Arrow McLaren just kind of had I mean, outside of, Pato Award, starting third, finishing second, it was kind of run of the mill race for the other drivers. Christian Lundgaard finishing 15th and Nolan Siegel finishing 19th. But Pato definitely had some choice words for his teammate Nolan Siegel after the race.
Yeah, I saw that. He wasn't best pleased, but I thought he was kind of lucky to get second, considering he didn't look on the pace as much as I expected him to during qualifying, and I thought for him to qualify as high as he did was something in itself. So for him to still be there at the end of quite a chaotic race, I thought a little bit of cheek in going after your teammate like that, but because I'm not sure, I feel like that might be too easy an excuse to let you off the hook for not getting further up. But
Yeah.
there seems to be a lot of that this year with him. He should have done this. He should have done that, and it's because of this. It's because of that he wasn't able to. And I'm like, maybe you're just a common denominator in that rather than anything else for me.
Yeah. Well,
It's one of those awkward things with him. I think before I started really watching IndyCar was when he put in all of his performances that made
mm,
him so popular. I haven't seen any of that in real time, so I'm still there going, "Why are we fussed about him?" I get it, but I don't.
yeah. Well, he led 8 laps. I've got the race summary here. He led 8 laps, but I think all of those were through pit strategy, pit stops coming out, and wasn't really on track performance that got him there or kept him up front. I think it was just he kept his head down and like you said, he wasn't necessarily the one to beat at any point during the day. Just a second place was a fortunate finish for him, I'd say. And they really
Yeah.
didn't even highlight him a whole lot during the broadcast.
It
Just
felt a little bit. I know I made this comparison about once an episode, but again, just very George Russell of him of just keeping his head down and minding his own business, and he somehow gets to where he is, and everyone goes, "Well, fair enough."
yeah. Andretti Global, um, obviously a great day for Kyle Kirkwood. Starting 10th and pushing his way to the front, and uh, definitely was another driver that kind of felt like Pato Ward, where he also only led 8 laps in the
But he led
race.
the 18 most important
He
ones,
led the most
crucially.
important one, and so yeah, I mean, great finish for him. Marcus Ericsson, I don't know if he was on screen at all.
Didn't see much of him. I kind of summed up
Started,
the team performances as
yeah,
the good for Kirkwood, the bad for the ugly for Ericsson.
yeah, yeah. I heard he goes out, qualifies eighth, decent start for him, but finishes 17th. He's another driver that didn't necessarily get a lot of highlights during the race. So
Again, highlights means that there's something got to be happening to you, good or bad,
good
unfortunately,
or
and there
bad.
just wasn't much of anything.
Chip Ganassi Racing felt like a pretty good day for them, quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
All things considered.
low qualifying in ninth was nice because again it showed he's not quite there with the ovals yet, which
Yeah,
thank God for all our sakes, I think with that one. But he was so far down for so much of the race that when he was in P8, I was reminded very much of the Russian Grand Prix, I think in 2021. You had all this chaos going on, and then somehow Max Verstappen is second at the end of the race, and you go, how? Come on. You went anywhere for all of this, and then somehow you're just
yeah,
there.
yeah. I
Right
mean,
in,
he ran. I mean, Pelot ran outside the top 10 the vast majority of the race. I
yeah, I
mean,
kept seeing him like down in
yeah,
P17,
I
and I was like,
mean,
this is excellent. We're going to have something to try and shuffle things back up a bit.
yeah.
And then,
I mean, he wasn't even in the top 10 after lap one. So,
yeah,
I mean, he was already outside the top 10. And so for him to come back and finish eighth, I mean, great finish for him, especially on an oval like this. Uh, Kiffin Simpson, horrible qualifying, qualified 26th, and ended up finishing 15th, the first car one lap down, and was kind of in the fray there at the very end on the last lap with uh,
yeah, with the
Award
leaders.
and Rasmussen kind of battling it out on the last lap, but and then Scott Dixon. I mean,
Hallelujah.
yeah, Scott Dixon doing Scott Dixon things, starting 11th, finishing fourth. Was
Finally, we get something from him.
one of the five drivers that led chunks of the race. So, um, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about this team.
No, I mean, I was saying to you before we started recording the podcast that I surprisingly did well in my IndyCar fantasy league this weekend, and one of the drivers I had in there was Kevin Simpson, and I don't remember signing him up. To be honest with you, I think I did it probably because he was cheap, and I didn't have much budget left at that point. But it worked for me in this instance, so you know what, I'm quite glad I got it, and he has quite a distinctive livery, which stays pretty constant as well, which I appreciate because you don't get too much of that in IndyCar. And
Yeah,
again, Pelot, we're so used to seeing him in that yellow and red that when he was suddenly in green this weekend, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Well, I don't know. That's Pelot now? What is this? It's frustrating some weekends. But
yeah,
with Simpson, he seems pretty constant with that. And that's what it takes for me to root for you, and to just because I can simply recognize you, then that's what I'll do. And it worked this weekend on that front, so I'll take
yeah.
it.
A.J Foyt Racing. I think this was a great weekend for them. Obviously, with Santino Ferrucci starting 19th and finishing fifth. Another top five for him on the season. Yeah, it's got to move him up pretty good in the point. And he's still in 11th, but yeah, David Malukas. He ran up front for a big chunks of the race to say. Led the most laps in the race. Had the unfortunate uh, penalty leaving pit road that kind of I think I don't think the three grid spot penalty wasn't necessarily what ruined his day. I don't think that his brush of the wall is what ruined his day. I think it just going through pit cycles and things, especially there at the end, I think might have been what resulted in him falling back out of the top 10, finishing 12th.
I think it's one of those things, isn't it? It's never just one thing. It's always a collection of moments, and this unfortunately was the case for him in this race. And there were points, a little bit like we're going to talk about Dayle in a minute. There were points where it looked like it might be on, and he had a brilliant qualifying. He was just starting fourth. Finishing
Yeah,
12th is obviously disappointing, but it's nice that we're disappointed in a way as well because it shows how far they're coming along, and Ferrucci as well. Starting
yeah,
in 19th, even though thought he'd finish fifth, we know he's good.
Yeah.
but fifth is pretty bloody good.
I,
Um,
yeah, I've been pretty high on A.J. Foyt Racing all season, saying,
I'm with you, buddy. I'm
this
happy
is the
for it.
season that's going to happen for him. And they're sitting 11th and 12th in the points right now, which on paper doesn't seem impressive, but you see the flashes of brilliance in this team. And Santino Ferrucci has three top fives this season, and
Would yeah,
uh,
no,
David Lucas only has the one top five, the Indianapolis 500, runner up. But if you're going to be runner up in a race, that's one you want to be runner up in.
yeah.
So
It's a little bit like Chip Ganassi, no notes in that because it was just a really positive weekend overall, and it's
yeah,
just a little bit of a what if from Lucas, but again, we know he's capable, and segue to Juncos Hollinger Racing Daily, we know he's capable, and starting
yeah,
15th, finishing sixth, and just the absolute tear that he was on the
yeah.
entire 260 lap race just made you think, surely is there a chance? There's got to be a chance at least, and okay, not this time, but soon. It's got to happen soon, right?
Yeah, and
Right?
Connor Daly had what he had to have close to 30 on track passes, which in any other race would be
Yeah, exactly.
monumental. And then you have Christian Rasmussen that goes out and gets triple what he had. So
Connor Daly here being the Kiffin Simpson to the other two drivers in his team normally. If it wasn't for the fact that it's Scott Dixon and Alex Palou beside me, I'd be quite impressive right now. But these guys are just here, so you just ignore me about it. Days like, if this was any other time,
Stingray Rom, qualified 23rd, finished 20th. His last car one lap down. Um, I think that's a not a bad effort for him and that team. So I can't be too upset with a 20 place finish for him. Meyer Shank, um, I think okay day. I mean, obviously Marcus Armstrong qualifying sixth, great start for him. Felix Rosenquist starting seventh.
mm,
Um, you know, Marcus Armstrong finishes inside the top 10, ninth place finish. Rosenquist, though, I mean, I think they kept anytime they mentioned him during the broadcast was because he was receiving a penalty. I think a 16th place finish for him is quite well considering that he received three penalties during the race.
yeah,
He
I think the
had,
combination of that and the unfortunate strategy at the end with needing to pit so close to the end just cemented his fate in a lot of ways there. And I think ordinarily P16 would have been a little bit disappointed, perhaps because we know he's capable of more, but I think it's even more so because he started so well in
yeah.
seventh. And then, like you say, he has all these penalties, and then the strategy, you go, ah, shoulda, woulda,
Well,
coulda.
so he hit the trifecta of penalties. So he
You get
received
bonus points for that.
yeah, right. He received a drive-through penalty. He received a stop and go penalty, and he received a restart at the rear of the field penalty.
You get two more of those, you get a free teddy bear.
He's going to fill up the punch card. Um, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. This is, I think, par for the course for this team. Louis Foster, who started 21st and was running in 10th place, just on racecraft. Had a great race going, and then obviously, hit that turn four wall and came down in front of the race leader, Joseph Newgarden. Ends up finishing 26th. Rahal, kind of a milk toast day for him. Starts 22nd, finished 22nd, and then Devlin DiFrancesco having an odd day, to say the least, with everything that happened. But
That's probably what we
finishes,
could describe his season as, really, isn't it? It's just a bunch of odd results that amount to something that we haven't quite figured out what it is yet.
yeah. I mean, kudos for him though. I mean, was still running at the end of the race, albeit 43 laps down. But
Don't know if kudos is the right word there, but lacking a
way,
better
way
one,
to
we'll take
way
it,
to
I
stick
suppose.
it out. Way to stay out on the track and gain some information for your team for next year, maybe. Who knows? So
I mean, I summed up the team's performance this weekend by going, well, could be worse. At least they're
Yeah,
not Team Penske. So
this is true. He definitely did. That team did manage to marginally do better than Team Penske. They had a team. They had a car that finished the race. So
the
I
bar is shockingly
what
low, isn't it, for Team Penske?
one stat that they had during the broadcast. This was Graham Rahal's 300th career start, which puts him 11th all time in IndyCar starts. Which I was kind of shocked to learn that 300 would put you so high up on that list.
I don't know if I'm baffled or not, which is probably what baffles me more, to be honest.
Then we get to Ed Carpenter Racing.
Hey, Christian, John Rasmussen, take a bow, no?
Yeah, I mean, what he did in this race, I mean, we've already talked about him, but to come through the field multiple times to finish on the podium after starting 25th. I mean,
There was just no stopping him. He
yeah.
had a mission today, or yesterday, or Sunday rather. I'm so mixed up on timings, but he just was not relenting at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he had for breakfast, but have some more of that.
Yeah. And it kind of makes you wonder, what would this race have looked like had he started higher in the field, not, 25th? What would this race have looked like had he not received a penalty?
There's a lot of that this weekend, though, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, this could have been his weekend very easily. But I don't think it was necessarily of any fault of his own. I mean, this is a team that doesn't necessarily have consistently great qualifying efforts. So, I mean, it makes sense that he would start 25th.
And again, if you'd said at the start of the weekend you're going to finish third on Sunday, are you happy with that? He's gone, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. I'm taking that and
Yeah.
running away with it before someone tries taking it back off me. So
Yeah.
yeah, like you say, it's a bit of a what if on one hand, but on the other hand, let's not look a gift horse in the mouth too much.
Yeah. And then Alexander Rossi, I mean, we've highlighted him a few times this season. And he also was one of those drivers that just kind of kept his head down, raced his race all day, and led a couple laps, got some screen time, and still finished 11th place. So kudos
Yeah,
to him
not
as
too bad from
well.
him. It's
Yeah,
it's good. I think that Rasmussen managed to show him up because we're so used to it being the other way around. So it was nice from that perspective. But again, Rossi being up there is kind of not surprising, but again shows what he's capable of doing in I don't want to say subpar machinery, but subpar machinery.
yeah. I mean, Rossi and Rasmussen are 13th and 14th in the points, directly behind Ferrucci and Malukas. And I think that shows.
If things keep going the way they're going, they're going to all be ahead of all three Team Penske drivers.
Well, they're already ahead of one. Joseph Newgarden's
So
way down in 16th place. Yeah. So, um, they've got about a half a race that they need to catch up with Power McLaughlin to pass them, but certainly
well, that's
doable.
this weekend's plan.
Yeah, right. Dayle Coyne Racing. Um, uh, Good finish for Renus VK.
Yeah, a little bit like Rasmussen in some ways. A really excellent recovery from him. In
Yeah.
qualified 18th, finished seventh. Again, machinery that if you can extract the maximum out of it and capitalize on the opportunities that fall your way, then you can get a result like this, and it's excellent. And able, okay, qualified 27th, not great. Don't need to really hammer that point home. That's pretty obvious. But finishing in 21st, I think with the season he's been having and the more challenging aspect that IndyCar is definitely presenting to him than
Mhm.
maybe he would have thought. I'll take it because I think we talked about this before with some of the rookie drivers. We don't need them to be top 10 every weekend or anything like this. It's a little bit like PREMA that we'll get to in a minute. These are the performances I don't mind from them because it
Mhm.
shows that there's a bit of consistency, there's a bit of improvement, and when nothing bad happens to you for once, it can kind of fall your way a bit more, and I don't mind it. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of happy with Abel for that one. Still not putting him in my fantasy team just yet, but he's getting near the consideration list.
Well, out of the 27 full-time drivers that we have in IndyCar. We have only four drivers this season out of the first eight races that have not scored a top 10. And Jacob is the last of those. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's
uh,
coming. It's coming. You watch it.
uh,
You watch it this weekend.
we'll see. So,
If he somehow does that this weekend, I'm going to look like an absolute hero this time next week. So I'm kind of really bank on that now.
not still not going to put him on your fantasy team, though, right?
Oh, don't be silly. No.
Finally, we've got PREMA Racing. Callum Ilott, who we spoke about earlier.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah, led the race very late in the race, and ultimately had to stop in for a splash and go. And then Robert Sportsman was scored a top 10 finish on the season finally.
He seems to like ovals. It's going not too shabby for him. I
Yeah,
mean, it's obviously not all there to put together yet, but there's elements of it going. Maybe this is where he's at home.
yeah.
Yeah, just really drove through the field for me, up 14 places, and a little bit like Abel for me. I'm disappointed, but not too disappointed because we was that close.
Yeah,
It could have been, and I think that's kind of what I wanted to see. Like I alluded to before, it's kind of you don't need to get the result, but just be showing that you maybe getting close to being
just
capable
work in the
of
right
it.
direction. Yeah, yeah. Who was your hot driver team this weekend?
There were some interesting voices here. There's so many. Hookwood just because back to back wins, and I kind of paired him with the award, not because I was impressed with the award, but because this was the weekend that we needed from the pair of them in terms of the championship.
Mm,
Below, as we said earlier, somehow still finishes in P8 after all of that.
right.
And the gap is still big, but it's a lot less than it was coming into
It's getting a
this
little bit more
weekend, which
manageable.
is which is
Yeah,
what we wanted. Um, but I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Dayle because
yeah,
gosh darn, if that's not what we want to see, then I don't know what we want to see, quite frankly. We need more of that.
yeah. I'm definitely going with Christian Rasmussen. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah,
was going to do that the first, so I had to go with three other drivers to make up for it.
I jumped you. I picked him first. So,
I think my
uh,
three combined, if you added up all their overtakes, still come short of Rasmussen's overtaking.
yeah, I just a all-star weekend for him. I mean, just what he was able to do on track. It wasn't through strategy. It wasn't through the fault of drivers stumbling in front of him. He just went out there and just dominated and 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 got himself that podium finish. Um, not hot. Who was your not hot?
The Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan are my
Yeah,
not hot for this weekend. I think it's just they just weren't hot, mate. Quite frankly,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
you're on the fence about yours.
I wrote IndyCar timing and scoring
Was that in the heat of the moment?
as mine. It was in the heat of the moment. I think I might have even filled this in before the end of the race. Uh, but now I've had a few days to digest and kind of replay it a few times, and I'm just like,
You,
I
you,
don't know
you
if they were
sound like a
necessarily.
politician coming out with a statement a few days after an easy going. I'm looking back on my actions. I regret what I said.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I have to leave IndyCar timing and scoring because I don't know if I could pick somebody not hot. Um, Obviously, maybe Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Now, maybe I agree with you there. I want to say Team Penske,
I say we've
they
been
just
skewed by our
wasn't a
third
whole lot.
category in this award
Yeah,
season, haven't we?
that's
Here a bit.
right. So we get to the hard luck, and I think we're both kind of on the same line here as well. It's
Yeah,
Team Penske. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you've signaled out Joe's Newgarden for pretty
yeah,
obvious reasons, but I just look at them as a package and go, what a difference a day makes from Saturday to Sunday.
yeah,
And you almost want to play
yeah,
the song over a compilation of their qualifying efforts and then their race results and go, because I feel like in this one. they genuinely did nothing wrong, the three drivers. They were all just
Yeah,
kind of minding their own business, and then Wall, Mechanical, and here's Louis Foster. Oh
yeah,
shit. And
yeah.
then you're just done.
And
So
we're halfway through the season at this point. You have to wonder, is there going to be a race this season where all three of these drivers finish in the top five? This should have been the race, but just will there be a race this season that we're going to be able to say, oh yeah, Team Penske was the cream of the crop and they were the best in the field?
you know, to be continued. Let me think
Yeah,
about that for a week and get back
yeah,
to you.
yeah, right. Well, we have less than a week before our next race. We've got a fan favorite on the IndyCar schedule, Road America, this coming weekend.
It's gonna be good, I think. I mean, we are at risk of getting back to the Polo show, but at the same time, if there'd be somewhere where it wouldn't happen, Road America, it's always a bit of fun. So
Yeah.
maybe we can get a bit of some left field stuff happening here.
So let's just go through our previous race winners. This is always fun. So I mean, the names that are on this list are all current drivers. And, we've been racing back
You can
at Road
probably eliminate the
America.
Team Penske drivers though.
Well, they're the ones that show up on the list the most, though. We came back to Road
Uh,
America in
Race.
2016. We've got Willpower won in 16. Willpower also won last year. Joseph Newgarden won in 22. Um, he won in 18. Scott Dixon's on the list a few times here. We know
I
what
wouldn't mind
he's
a Scott Dixon win.
Scott Dixon won in 17, won in 20. Alex Pillow's name's on this list a few times as well.
We don't need to
2023,
concentrate too hard on that one.
21. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, even Joseph Alexander Rossi won in 2019, so we can't discount him. I mean, Felix Rosenquist won in 2020. So, I
Well,
mean,
watch it go and be Carl Kirkwood again.
I wouldn't be mad about that. Maybe we
No,
get Pat
that's the thing.
O'Ward. Maybe Pat O'Ward. We get a name that's not on this list that wins. So, or we get somebody out of left field that we're not expecting. Somebody like um,
Jacob Abel's time to shine, baby.
let's see. If I had to pick a dark horse, hmm, somebody who hasn't won at that track.
Colin
Maybe,
Herta would be a dark horse with this season
yeah,
so far,
Colton Herta
wouldn't he?
would be a dark horse with the season he's having. Christian Lundgaard, I think, would be my
Mm,
my dark horse.
I'd like to see that just to see if he smiles. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can back that as well.
Well, we're going to be back next week, and we will see if that comes to fruition and you do get to see him smile. I mean, not everybody can be a Helio Castroneves and just have a permanent smile on their face.
No, but there should be a happy medium, surely.
All right. Well, all right, Timo. Well, it's been great, and we will talk to you next week. And thanks everybody for tuning in.